Right, Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And I just want to respond to what NFL's Kaepernick, said. He compared the cops to fugitive slave patrols, which the so-called police, they have incorporated the role of slave patrols. Alright, let's read a little bit of this article. It says NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick compared police officers to fugitive slave patrolmen after a Minnesota officer was acquitted in the shooting death of a so-called black motorist. Kaepernick tweeted his displeasure with the verdict with a graphic reading, "You can't ignore history, always remember who we are." You know, and I'd add on to that, always remember where you are, you know, and what you are. Alright, because we know who we are. We here at GreatMillStone and others are finding out that we are the Israelites. But what are we in this society? In this society, we are slaves. We are subject unto a foreign power. We are nothing more than human resources for that said foreign power to utilize for his ultimate benefit and not for ours. Which is why, and I'm going to keep saying it, in the last 500 years, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans still remain the mainstay of the bottom socio-economic groups, right? And you still don't own and control a single industry on this planet Earth, because you are a slave. And then as much labor, as much as you put your labor to this man's system and society, you will remain nothing more than a human resource. You will never be a owner in this society, a major stakeholder in this man's society, because you're a slave. Even if you're an NFL player, you are a slave. You are there to service the sports industry and everything which is connected to it, the media, and they get to make trillions, and they'll give you a couple million. They'll give you a couple million. They'll give you some crumbs for your labor, but ultimately the entire industry, they're going to benefit and profit more than you are. And then even when they give you those millions, they give you 50% tax on it. So half of it goes to your true owner, which is the state. Alright, and then on top of that, when you spend your money, you're spending money again into industries which your people do not own and control. I.e., you go out there, you buy yourself a Ferrari. Okay, you buy a Ferrari for what, $1 million or $2 million? That $2 million is going straight to the motor car industry. And where are the profits of that industry heading? Straight to the so-called white man, the owners of the society. So no matter which way you slice it, you are Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are nothing more than slaves, subordinates, minorities. Look up the word minority and what it means politically in this man's society. You are subject. Alright? Even if you're in the NFL, even if you got a so-called good job. You see, Jacob captivated by this employment, man. And that's what makes you feel free. You think you're free because you could get a job. You had jobs in slavery. It's just employment, man. Alright? Get over it. Being free is more than just having a job. Alright? Being free is having your own authority, right? Which is not subject to any foreign power, and owning your own resources and controlling your own industries. That's part of being free. And I want to get this quote right here. Freedom is what you do with what's being done to you. At what point have you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians done anything about what has been done to you or what is being done to you? No. The most you can do is get some pens, take your money, buy some pens, which is giving the money straight to the so-called white man. He runs that industry. Every industry he owns and controls. You can get yourself some money, buy yourself some pens, some ink from HP Hewlett-Packard. You could print up a bunch of pictures and freedom, justice, and equality, and you can march up and down in the street and you can beg in supplication for justice, but you cannot take justice because you are not free. When the so-called white man wants to take justice, they do it. When they feel wronged and they feel like somebody needs to pay, they make them pay because they are free to do so. As my man Blaine said, do as you please. None shall interfere. That's when you have freedom and power, and that's going to come with Yahushua pursuant to Revelations 2:26. We are going to have freedom. We're going to have power to get justice. That's part of freedom. You niggas ain't worked that out yet. That's why you're out there marching. Okay? And you call yourself free. Protesting, but you call yourself free. Free people don't protest, man. Alright? But anyway, I just wanted to rant on that for a little bit. Now, when you go into the history of the slave patrols called patrollers, patty rollers, or paddy rollers by the slaves were organized groups of so-called white men. Now they utilize black and Hispanic men to do the job too. Alright? They don't care who they use as long as the job gets done. Who monitored and enforced discipline upon black slaves in antebellum U.S. southern states. The slave patrol's function was to police slaves. Enforce policy. That's where you get the word police. And if you don't understand it yet, right, the politics, the policies, the agenda of America and all these different institutions and corporations will always be in the favor of those who own the corporation rather than those who are owned by the corporation. And unless you so-called Negroes have not fucking worked it out, man, you Hispanics, Native American Indians, you are owned by these corporations. You do not own them. Alright, I don't know what you thought, man. It's because you get a check at the end of the month. I don't know what you thought. Alright, these policies are not going to be for you. Alright, they are formed river patrols to prevent escape by boat. Slave patrols were first established in South Carolina in 1704, and the idea spread throughout the colonies, right? And then you have the slave codes, whatever the case may be. Now, what you don't understand is what happened was, at first, you so-called Negroes were in private ownership. So you had so-called white men who would own a piece of land, own everything on it, and you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native American Indians were human resources which they owned, which worked that resource which they had to their benefit. Now, did you receive something for that? Yes, you received food, you received clothing. Just like now, they give you a check so you can go and buy yourself food and buy yourself clothing. But at the end of the day, the profits, the overall benefit is going to go to the owner. Okay? Right? Now, because you were owned by that plantation, you were under the rules and regulations of that plantation. That was your world. You had to get permission in order to leave that world. Okay? I'm going to get this excerpt from this book. The book is So-Called African American Slave Narratives. Now it reads here: slaves are never allowed to leave the plantation to which they belong. So there was a point in time where you so-called Negroes were chattel slavery, which there's many levels of slavery. All you have to do is look up serfdom. Because you so-called Negroes, you think the only form of slave is a chattel slave that doesn't get paid. Alright? Alright? But there are many forms of slavery. Chattel slavery is just the lowest form of slavery. Alright? There are many forms of slavery. Sharecropping, when you became sharecroppers, you were still in slavery. Human resources, indebted. Alright? Anyway, what happened is, like I said, you you were slaves. Let's come back here. Owned by a private person. Now what they did was, well, let me read this first, and I'll explain what they did with the whole emancipation bullshit. Slaves are never allowed to leave the plantation to which they belong without a written pass. That's your passport. That's where we get a passport from. There are two origins of a passport. Passports were one of the things which were given to dignitaries who were crossing into foreign countries, which would afford them the protection of the particular monarch of that foreign land which they were traveling to or from. That's where you get your diplomatic immunity from today. That was an origin of a passport. For instance, let's say the ambassador to the French monarchy was traveling to the royal court in London, England. Now he would have a seal of the French king, whereby he would travel throughout France unimpeded. I travel under the authority of the king. Yes, let him through. Let him through. Wherever he went in that journey, he was authorized. Meaning, if you hinder that man, or you rob that man, you kill that man, you perform any injury to that man, it was likened unto doing it to the king. And you already know the full power of the monarchy was going to come down on your ass. When he got to the border to travel over into foreign lands, he would have to receive a passport from that monarchy, from that land, because he's now in foreign land, so he's even in more danger. He's a stranger now. He's speaking a different language, or with a funny accent, if he can speak that language. When he was traveling on his way to see the king of that country, he would be given a passport, right? And that passport would grant him the rights to travel within that country under the monarchy of that country. So again, if you fucked with him, so to speak, you were fucking with the king, the monarchy. That's your first origin of a passport. The second origin of a passport goes back into slaves being allowed to leave the plantation. Alright? Because you're not dignitaries. Now it says slaves are never allowed to leave the plantation to which they belong without a written pass. Should anyone venture to disobey this law, he will most likely be caught by the patrol and given 39 lashes. This patrol is always on duty every Sunday, going to each plantation under their supervision, which a plantation is a corporation. Okay? Entering every slave cabin and examining closely the conduct of slaves, and if they find one slave from another plantation without a pass, he is immediately punished with a severe flogging. So the concept is here that unless you had permission from your slave owner to be somewhere else, you were to be punished. When they emancipated you, Negroes, what they did was you were no longer in private hands, you became in state hands. And you were then loaned out to private hands. That's what it is. When you go to your job and you get a job, all right, that's why that particular company or corporation you're working for has to abide by the rules of the state regarding your employment. And they also have to make sure they pay their taxes. You now are being outsourced by the state, because you're a citizen of the state, to that private corporation, rather than before where you were owned directly by that private organization. So now you're allowed, your plantation is ultimately the entire constituents of your owner, which if you're an American citizen is America. That's why you don't really need a passport to travel domestically within America, because you're still within the boundary of your owners, and anywhere you are within that boundary, all right, you're under their law, statutes, and commandments. Okay, that's your owner, the state. You're a citizen of Washington D.C. corporation. Understand this. The minute you try and leave America, you require a passport, which is the permission of your owner in America to leave the country. Understand this. You need that. You cannot just jump on a plane and leave the country without a passport. You have to be given permission. They also have visa programs. Now, if they have an agreement set up with the other plantation that you're going to, you might not need a visa. You can just travel with that passport because they've already made the agreement, this plantation and that plantation, that they're allowing you to go over to that other plantation. When you go over there, you are now going to be under their statutes and commandments while you're there, but you are still owned by them. That's an agreement that's not been made by you, but by the two plantations, the two corporations which own you. I.e., if you're coming from America to Britain or Britain and America, those are the two corporations, and one of them owns you. So if you're a British citizen and you're going to America, you're owned by Britain. Britain is allowing you to go to America. You are going to be under the protection of the Britain while you're there. They've already agreed this. Read in your passport. Read the documents. Okay, but you have to abide by the laws in America while you're there. That agreement has not been made by you, but by the two corporations, man. You understand? This is how you bring it to the modern world. You don't know your job at McDonald's, your owner at McDonald's doesn't necessarily own you. The state does. He's borrowing you, and he has to pay for it. All right? So these police who are agents of the state, they are nothing more than the slave patrols. All right? See, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, you have to come to the knowledge not only of who you are, because once you find out you're an Israelite, then you can go into the scriptures and you can begin to understand your current condition which you are in, which is that of a slave, of a captor. All right? Who is within his enemy's house, his enemy's construct. Whether you're in America, whether you're in Britain, whether you're in Jamaica. Jamaica is nothing more than a slave colony. You're owned by the Jamaican government. Who owns the Jamaican government? The so-called white man. That's how it works. Whoever owns the state owns the people who are owned by the state. The so-called citizenry, who are bound to the state. All right? Deuteronomy 28:29. And thou shalt grope at noonday. This is speaking about you. Once you find out you're an Israelite, then you're going to find out that you broke the law, statutes, commandments of the Heavenly Father. So now you're under the curses. So these curses are going to perfectly explain what your situation is today. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. And that's why the majority of you so-called Nick don't even know who you are. You don't even, you was to ask the average so-called Negro, Hispanic, Native American, are you a slave? They wouldn't even think that. They don't even understand that. Because they were told they were free. They don't even understand what freedom is. They've been in slavery so long. They don't know. They think freedom, slavery is just having shackles on you. There's different forms of slavery, my man. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. You are not going to prosper. You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are not going to, as a people, travel up, have upward mobility and dominate the top socio-economic classes. In fact, let me show you, man. And this is the same for England. No matter where you go, France. All right. You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and never. I don't care if you go Jamaica. I don't care. You make up the lowest socio-economic groups, man. As a country, as whole groups, you make up. What the hell is Jamaica? What the hell is Barbados, man? You brothers that's down there in South America, the majority of you are dirt poor, living on less than $1 a day. While who? The Spaniards, the children of the Spaniards, they're enjoying the upper class. And I'm sure the brothers, the Spanish-speaking brothers do videos on that. The actual children of the indigenous peoples over there in the Americas, they've not shared in none of the glory and none of the money. It's the children of the Spaniards, man, that still inhabit the upper classes, just like in Brazil. While you in the favela, baby. Now it says wealth inequality has widened along racial ethnic lines since the end of the Great Recession. Now this is going back to what, 83 to 2013. And look, this is the medium net worth of households. Look where the so-called white man is, all the way up in the hundreds of thousands. And look where the so-called black man is. And you don't get it. You still don't fucking get it, man. This is where you belong in this man's society. It is designed for you to be here. And you Hispanics are about $2,000 better off. This is where you're designed to be. This is where you are designed to be. Alright? Your wealth is non-existent, man. You reside in the bottom socio-economic groups. You are slaves. The only thing you can do is offer up your service to the plantation. You can't do your own thing. You don't have the ability to do your own thing. You have no resources. You have no power to enact legislations. You have nothing but your hands to offer. You don't own land. You don't control any land. You don't control legislation on your land. You're finished. And thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled, and no man shall save thee. You are spoiled every day, man. You have to pay taxes. Your labor is owned. Your labor is owned. Before you even get paid, someone is going to take money out of that. You are spoiled. You have worked. You have labored. You don't have nothing to show for it. That shows that you are continually being spoiled. They tell you if you work hard enough, you'll make it. Make it where? It's not designed like that. Alright? You have to come to this understanding, and this applies to Britain, man. It applies to all these corporations which the so-called white man set up. It's the same system of oppression. Here it is, you niggas trying to make it. You ain't gonna make it. It's not set up that way. It's called economics. They manage their household not for you, you dummies. You think they manage their household for you? A slave? When has that ever happened in history? Alright? Scripture said, you shall not prosper. Let's look up the word prosper. You look at the statistics, man. Just because you see a bunch of celebrities on TV that look like you, that doesn't mean your people are prospering, man. They make up like 0.00001% of your population as a group, man. How many basketballers are there really? Really? 100? 200? How many millions of you are there? Think about it. You looking at these entertainers as if that means you made it. You made it as a people. No. No. Okay? Come back to reality. Open your door. Look at where you live. Look at the majority of people you know and how they live. Not some motherfucker on TV in a music video where he borrowed most of that shit. Boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. You jakes, man. You give a man a heart attack. Let's look up some of these words. Scripture says you ain't gonna prosper. Now the word prosper means to advance. Have you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians advanced socio-economically in this man's society? How have you, when clearly, let me get it so you might not understand that chart. Let's look at this chart here. Alright, median net worth, so-called white man, top. We're looking at the top colors, 141,000. That's the median worth that the so-called white man has in America. Negro, 11,000. That's not even 10%, son. That's not even 10%. Hispanic is about 10%. Just on the. So you so-called blacks and Hispanics, you don't even represent 10% of the median wealth of the so-called white man. You are not prospering, okay? Through All right, and that's the same. It's the same in England. It's the same in France. Look, man, you are the poor, man. If you add up all the wealth that you Israelites possess in the world and you compare it to all the wealth of the Edomites and you ain't got shit. You ain't on no level. Fuck Floyd Mayweather, man. If you was to, including Mayweather, take all the money that all you so-called niggas, Hispanics have, all the assets, anything you claim you have, and add it all up together, there's one Edomite out there that will just buy you all out easy. You ain't got shit. Point blank period. You ain't nobody. Alright? This is statistical facts. But you Jakes don't like to look at the statistics. You like to play games. Now it's time to be serious and acknowledge your situation. Then you can acknowledge the solution, which is Yahweh Shai. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled. Let's look at the word oppressed. To press upon, oppress, violate, to defraud, do violence, get deceitfully, wrong, extort. What do you think happens to them basketballers, man, and them NFL players? Get extorted, man. Mike Tyson, man. You as a people, we are being extorted. We are being used as human resources for someone else's benefit, man. They're building up their kingdom and their society using you. And then they get to enjoy it. You niggas here in London, you don't get to enjoy. You here working in London, slaving in London. You don't get to enjoy the nice things that London has to offer. That's for the super rich. That you help make rich. You here slaving away in Primark. Well, guess what? The guy who owns in Primark, he can afford to go to the 3-star Michelin hotels here in London. You don't. You gotta go. You gotta save up and go Nando's. Which Nando's is a bunch of spices which originated in Angola, man. They got a bunch of Angolan so-called Portuguese niggas working in Nando's, but Nando's is owned by a so-called white man who's making all the money while you're earning £6.20 an hour. Hey, this is some joke thing, star. This is some real joke thing. Oh boy, this is a real joke thing. And spoiled evermore. Alright, you being spoiled, boy. It's a fact. Look at it correctly. Look at your I'll keep using this word socio-economic strata. You got socio-economic strata. What does socio-economic strata means? Okay. I just want something that'll simply show you it. Yeah. This is one way you can divide it up. Alright, so you got the top 1%, the next 4%. So your top 1% is your super elites. Then you get your elites. The next 5%, next 10%. Then you get the upper middle 20% and the middle 20%, which is dominated by so-called white people. Then you get the bottom 40% where you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians live. You're in the bottom 40%, man. Anything above that is dominated by so-called white people, okay? Alright, it's a fact. This is the facts. Alright, it's just the facts. Alright, this is where you are, the bottom 40%. Alright, that's your socio-economic strata. Alright, and all of you are striving to get up out of there. Oh, good luck, okay? Alright. Oh boy, this is hell. This is real hell. Alright, let's jump back into this. So you ain't gonna advance, prosper, make progress, succeed, be profitable, to make prosperous, to bring to successful issue, cause to prosper, to show or experience prosperity. I mean boy. Ghetto living, sleeping in the hey, oh boy. The word oppressed up, didn't I? Alright, we got that crushed. Yeah, you people have been crushed, man. I want to get the word spoiled. Gazal. Spoil, take away, rob, pluck, caught, consume. Yeah, you're being consumed, man. You're being devoured. You're being digested in this man's society, man. So that he could grow his muscle. Exercise, force, pluck off, torn, violence. To tear away, seize, plunder, tear off. Like when you had your little Black Wall Street, what happened? What happened? Google it. Black Wall Street, what happened? You got spoiled up. Pull off, rob, take away, by force, tear away, do, to seize, plunder. Alright? To flay. To strip. So you get stripped, man. Even these celebrities end up getting stripped. Bill Cosby's getting stripped right now. What do you think all them lawsuits they got him doing this? You know how much money he's shelling out right now for legal representation? He's finished, man. Don't you know that's how you get someone. You get them bogged down in lawsuits and they get stripped, man. All that money is flowing right into that law industry, man. Which, again, who owns and controls that so-called Jew? Oh, boy. All right. See, you are so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and American. You haven't gotten past this point. Deuteronomy 20:68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt. Again with ships. Now, you were brought into Egypt. Spiritual Egypt. Revelations 11:8, which is America. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies. You were sold unto your enemies. You are owned by your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. No man on this earth is going to redeem you out of the hand of your captors. You are still owned by them. Your salvation must come from a higher power, and you still don't get it. You don't get it, man. You don't understand the situation that you're in. All right? Yahweh Shai is the one that's going to free the captives, man. It's time for you to wake up to who you are, the condition you're in, and what the solution is. The solution is the gospel. All right? And that's what Yahweh Shai came to do. 2,000 years ago, he came to set up, coming to save us from the hand of our enemies today. Luke 1:68. You see, they don't teach you that in the churches. The whole point of the Messiah was to set up a great salvation of his people from the hands of their enemies in these last days. When he came 2,000 years ago, he came to lay down the foundation of a salvation which is going to happen today. They don't teach you that in these churches. Look, man, he came to actually save his people, man, from an enemy. Luke 1:68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, who we are, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. He's the one that's going to redeem us, man, back to the Father, out of the hand of the enemies, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. And that's what's coming. That's what's coming, man. Yahweh Shai is going to come to gather up his elect, man, and save us from the hand of our enemies, man, and deliver our enemies into our hands and give us freedom to execute judgments on them. I don't want to rant on too long, man, but you Jakes need to realize, man, the reason you're in the situation that you're in, that you need to acknowledge, is because you broke the law, statute, commandments, and the Heavenly Father. And if you want to get out of that situation, the answer is to return back to him through his son Yahweh Shai. And if you want to learn more about that, hit me up with a comment. I'll give you the links to learn about the gospel, to learn about your salvation and how it's going to be achieved. All right? It ain't going to be achieved in this world. It has to be achieved through the coming of a new world. Isaiah 42:22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. Do I need to go back to the statistics? All right. Beginning with America. Oops, I don't want to give that away too quick. That comes later. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey. You are preyed upon. You are nothing but human resources, man. Them fucking people that are music, whether it's the music industry, sports industry, they know that there's untold amount of you niggas out there with talent, and they're just waiting to pick one of you dumb niggas to come make them rich. Come, nigga, here's this basketball. Do the shit you do and make us rich. We'll give you a couple mil. Don't worry, we'll get it back from you any damn way. The minute you buy a house, the minute you buy a car. We'll get it all back anyway, nigga. Don't worry. Just here, take this and make us rich. Make us rich, nigga. Nigga, dunk that ball. Dunk it. I want to get it all on camera. Alright? You're a prey. They prey upon you, man. You're poor. You're like prostitutes. You're desperate, man. You're desperate. You're desperate to get a piece. And you got to go to him. And he going to give you a little piece. While he make the big piece. You going to get that crumb. Alright? They are for a prey and none delivereth. For a spoil and none saith restore. Ain't nobody trying to restore you Negroes, Hispanics, and never met Indians to a higher socio-economic status which you had. At one time in history, you had a higher socio-economic status. You no longer have that. Ain't no one trying to restore that to you. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come, which that time has come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it hath set him on fire round about, yet he knew not. This whole time you ain't understood what's been happening to you. Now it's time for you to understand. The Lord has sent the prophets to explain to you these things according to the scriptures. And it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. A lot of you are not laying your condition to heart and truly understanding what's going on. Now is the time to wake up. So if that, I'm going to say shalom.